Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Wherever you are right now, thank you for tuning in to the Conversations with Dr. Don show. The show is produced and broadcast from the Portland, Oregon area. Now, for your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and about whatever it is we've decided to talk about. Cancel that whole intro because this is a show that's different than the usual shows. It's titled Voices in Verse because I belong to a poetry reading group for some time now, and these are my fellow poets, including Master
Fearless leader.
Louis Haga, our leader. And then we have Pat, who is also co-hosting for me. I mean, that's Valerie Baham-Wright. God, I'm nervous. And then we have Jan McCormick. Yeah. And Mary Jane Erickson. Mm-hmm. There you are. Mm-hmm. Those are going to be our guests this evening, including
What's her
Valerie.
name?
Valerie will be reading a poem like a regular poet, in addition to chiming in and yelling at me for not being as good a host as I can be. So let's get going, all right? Who's going to be... Oh, how you feeling?
Good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
A little closer to your mouth.
What?
A little closer to your mouth.
Good.
And how are you, Louis?
I'm doing well. I'm waiting to read.
And that rich baritone, yes. And you, Mary Jane, how are you?
Doing very well. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, I'm so glad. And how is my great middle daughter, Valerie?
Thank you. I'm doing very well, too.
And
you?
I'm nervous. I was nervous.
Friends.
All right, so who's going to be our first victim as I ask you the basic questions for the first part of the show? Shall I choose that or will you choose it? Valerie, I will choose you, all right?
Okay.
Who are you? This is my daughter. Who are you? Answer me for the viewers.
I am Valerie Baham-Wright.
Mm-hmm.
I am the third of Dr. Don's 5 proud daughters. I am a former educator and a former vice president of human resources and a loving daughter, sister, aunt, and grandmother. I have 2 lovely grandchildren, ages 3, Sanaya, and 5 months, Ari.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How long have you been writing poetry? I know I've gotten poetry from you when you were in South America a long time ago, many years ago. We've had this loving relationship and our emails back and forth, and people would see an email and we thought, this is your lover, your wife, this isn't your daughter. And it's been that way. She's just precious to me.
We've had a lot of fun over many years.
How long have you been writing poetry?
I have been writing poetry since I was a teenager, but I haven't done it on a regular basis. I more enjoy reading your poetry. So.
And Louis is going to be bouncing back off you with some of these answers you give. How would you feel if you stopped writing poetry?
I feel like I've only just begun, so it would be a loss, and I would challenge anyone who said that I would have to stop writing because I feel like I have so much more to write.
Yes. Will you be next?
Sure.
And say your name again.
Jan McCormick.
And how are you right now, besides what we said a moment ago?
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. How long have you been writing poetry? A long time, haven't you?
Yeah, I think our whole family, all my siblings, my grandfather, it's all, I think a lot of it comes from my mom's side of the family. Her, Mary Kelly, her father's Francis Kelly, he wrote poetry. He used to recite poetry. And all my siblings write poetry. And I think I have some poems that go back to when I was in elementary school that were very basic, but most of my life.
And you're relatively new to our group, and I'm looking forward to what you're saying right now, to hearing some of those early poems. You're loaded with stuff, I can tell, yeah. And if I ask you one more time to hold that mic up closer, I'm going to really yell at you.
How's that?
That's fine. And I'm going to save you for last. Well, first, myself, I've been writing poetry like you for many, many years, and finally had the courage to take a chance in trying it out on somebody. And I'm glad I found your group, our group, because I've done more for public consumption since I've been in the group, and listening to everything that you say, because I'm modeling my learning after your long, long history. Of course, I won't live 300 years like you have. How are you now, Louis?
How am I now? And well,
Who are you, rather?
I'm a retired person, a retired teacher, retired school administrator, and actually, I've gotten to the point where I've been retired as long as I was active as a professional. So that means I've lived a long time.
Yes. Now, and how long have you been writing poetry? Probably before you were born.
Now, I actually, I didn't start writing poems until I got through at the university. I was doing prose. I want to tell you one little story about prose.
Please.
One of the reasons I did my homework on Sunday was that I had study hall the second period on Monday. And the second period on Monday was when the New Yorker magazine was delivered to our library. And so I would read, and if I couldn't read anything else in the New Yorker, I would read that chatty talk of the town section. And then I would go home and try to write talk of the town prose. And that was, I did that all the time I was in high school. I'm afraid I spent more time imitating the New Yorker than I did on my homework. but
You feel good about what you did then?
Yes, I do. I do feel good about it, and I was able to survive the university and that kind of thing. So I'm sure I didn't miss that much by doing it. But as I say, I learned a great deal about writing by imitating the talk of the town writers in New York and the New Yorker.
I think it flows in your conversation and how you talk about things. It's a degree of sophistication in how you are.
Well, I don't know about that. But
How would you feel if you were told you had to stop writing poetry or prose, for that matter? How would you feel?
well, actually, I could answer flippantly and say relief, because it's a kind of painful joy. The idea that you have to get a line right that just doesn't want to be right. If you follow me, you have to, and you have to work on that, and that work is painful.
Yes, and Valerie is my #1 editor, and the back and forth between her and I, and me and her, and my wife Pat and me, and finally after a number of iterations, I finally think I got something ready to go. And then oftentimes at the last minute, I got to go back again for an 8th time. And I really admire you for so many things.
Yeah, but that's, as I say, it's there's a kind of pleasure, but it's a pleasure modified by a little bit of pain. And,
so shall we bother our other guest here, Mary Jane?
Oh, I'll let you bother me. You can bother me.
Who are you? Who are you? Tell us who you are.
Well, I have, one of the things that I found that I really enjoyed doing was being artistic, because I started doing photography at a young age. And I also started writing at a young age.
Young age.
And yes, when I was in 8th grade in junior high. And I found that I was able to get my creativity out there, my feelings out there, and being able to begin to share that with other people. And that helped me to feel a better connection with people once I was, able to get out there to start sharing things with them. So I consider myself a creative, sharing person. Yeah.
Yes, and I've experienced that in our group.
Yeah.
And you've been writing poetry for a long time, you said. Yeah. How would you feel if you stopped writing poetry?
I would not feel good.
Oh.
I would find that to be very frustrating for me, because it would be a part of me that I would lose if I wasn't able to get some feelings and some sentiments down on paper and be a creative sentiment with it.
You seem to have an ongoing thing now in your poetry having to do with your family and your family relationships, and very personal and very appreciative, very appreciating. Never mind.
Well, it's been a lot of fun to be writing a lot of my poetry and sharing with my family, and they've gotten a kick out of some of it too. So, yeah. Yeah.
So, Mr. Director, I think we will take an early break here. It's 45 minutes left, and then we will come back and have Louis take over and direct us, as he usually does, at the Cedar Mill Neighborhood Library in Cedar Mill near Portland. Okay, we're taking a break. The mics are off because there's a technical difficulty.
fewer people.
Okay, we're we're back. So thanks for staying tuned. And for you viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don, and I won't read this again because I read it before, and then I had to cancel it because this is Voices in Verse poetry group that meets once a month in Cedar Mill, a community near downtown Portland. And our leader and master of ceremonies and all those kinds of things is Louis Haga, and he's going to take over in the second half of the show, second 3/4 of the show, and he's going to manage us as he usually does in the library. Please, Louis.
Okay.
Yay, Louis.
So, because Jan is our newest member, I'm going to ask Jan to read first. Would you read the poem you've selected?
Sure. It's called Creator. The power of the full white moon pulls at the inner soul of woman, a pounding rhythm that drives her out into the dark world. She lifts her arms reaching into the night, her secrets soar out into the cosmos. Her heartbeat is the bass line of music coursing through her veins. She throws her head back, twirling, dancing, through fields, over mountains, across rivers and streams. Long ropes of dark hair swirl around her upturned face, masking and revealing brilliant sea blue eyes. She is the creator. She is earth, sky, water, stars, sun, and moon. Her power is quiet, sure and steadfast. She is mother, daughter, and grandmother. The knowledge of generations passed through time and space is hers to share. The knowing is in her smile that can light up a room and fill the heart. The knowing fills oceans with the history of tears dropped from useless tragedies. The knowing is in her laugh that uplifts lost souls. Woman holds the truths of past lives. She chooses them as pieces to patch a quilt, shaping what will be from the best, throwing the scraps away. She is creator who brings forth new life, new hope, improving the mold that created her soul, shaping a new future, a new world. Women rejoice, dance beneath the curtain of stars. Lift your arms and gather the night close to your heart, for the dark is where we gather strength for the journey of the day.
Oh, wonderful.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
The title of that again?
Creator.
Creator, yes.
Creator.
Okay. I was reminded of something when you read that poem, that you were a fan of a 2-minute, 11-second radio program out of Austin, Texas, the Stardate program, where this wonderful woman talks about the heavens and the stars for 2 minutes and 11 seconds in such beautiful language. It's really remarkable. So I heard her her influence there.
Good.
That's great. Okay. Mary Jane.
Yes.
You can relax that.
Yeah, let's see.
Excuse me, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Well, the poem that I wrote is called My Home, since my hometown is in Seattle, Washington. So I wrote My Home, and it's 1851 to 1853. A Native American, honored peacemaker, esteemed speaker, a friendly hand that extends to new settlers, welcoming them to the land that will bear his name. As settlers' lives expand, lumber and coal blossom, the building of ships, and lives be born, nourished by the trawling of fish, in the often turbulent waters of a vast sound. My Home, 1889. A devastating fire ravages a promising dream, but not the spirits of those who saw growth. My Home, 1900. With the turn of a new century and the discovery of gold, the sphere expands from the lives of those arriving from an ever-enlarging world, my own family history begins. A grandfather arrives from a Norse country to continue the life he has always known in the timberlands. My home, 1950. Railroads cross the terrain. Lumber continues to build bridges. But now a new advent for the direction of travel. Mr. Boeing moves forward and contributes not only a home for the 707, but another beginning for my family, and a beginning that continues to this day. My home, 1962 to now. The land of the Native American, an honored peacemaker, has not been without its losses. Yet today, the majestic eminence of Mount Rainier and the spirit of a stalwart Native American leader burnish with pride to the growth of a city, my home, Seattle.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to read as part of our group? Do you want to
Sure.
read one poem?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Val.
This is from Suzanne
Graham.
Graham, who was not here
Oh,
tonight.
I see. Okay.
Right. She couldn't be here, so my dad asked me to read her poem with her permission. And I'm elated because it's about one of the subjects that I feel strongly about, one of the forces of nature that I love, which is waterfalls. So,
And she's a charming traveler, world traveler. Suzanne is rich. Please go on.
so over the edge. Waterfalls are about total commitment. No half measures here. No putting one watery toe over the edge and pulling back in fearful hesitation. No falling part way, then calling it off or retreating. This is an all or nothing event. The Yoda imperative. No trying, do or do not. And so it does. At Niagara, it's a leap into come what may glory. There's no looking before the leap here. This leap, this fall, is the ultimate triumph of water, putting it at the top of the daring do chain. Waterfalls give water top billing among the elements of matter because only water can survive this fall. Water can work slowly, eroding canyons, carving rifts and valleys, but sometimes it throws such stealthy influence aside, gives persistence the boot to go full throttle with reckless abandon over the edge.
I love
Oh,
that.
that was good. Yeah.
Very, very fun.
Um,
I'm going to read a poem that I wrote for our February
You can have me
meeting.
follow you rather than go before you.
Do you want me to?
I was going to let you finish as we usually do. You always let us all read
Oh, I
first.
see. I beg your pardon. Go ahead.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Don't take my turn. I read this when we met Saturday, and I figured I'd do it again, even though my viewers didn't hear it Saturday. Never mind. The Appearance of the Ladybug by Don Baham on June 23rd, 2018. Yesterday's magical appearance of a ladybug produced a sorely needed relief from life's sometimes burdens, and caused me to feel that, despite its challenges, my own life is indeed more than just worthwhile. And especially thanks to ladybugs. Hardly crawling up my left hand index finger that I had placed on the edge of the trash bin, she suddenly obeyed nature's call to return to the ether from whence she floated. And and an awareness of my mama of so long ago and what she was about and why any of my 11 siblings and me quietly and reverently referred to as Ladybug. And the same feeling that whatever unhappiness occurring in life today can vanish like yesterday's ladybug with a memory of my own ladybug of yesterday. And I'll await the return of another ladybug like yesterday's.
I
Very
love
nice.
that.
Good, that's good.
I think that's the first poem I've ever heard you read of your own. You're at the class, or the group, you're always reading other people's writings.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Thank you.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, I brought in a poem that I wrote for our group in February. Yeah. And the February is usually regarded as the month of hugs and kisses and sweet desserts, sweet pastries and the like. So I wrote a poem. The form of this poem is a ghazal. It's an Arabic form, and in the Arabic form there are a great number of rules and things. In the English form, the only thing that's important is that the same words are repeated at the end of each of the even numbered lines, 2, 4, 6, and the like. So that's my ghazal. The title of my poem is Creme Brulee.
Yummy.
Placed upon the elegant oak buffet is a delightful-looking creme brulee. The room exudes an air of desire, a part of which finds the creme brulee. Your smile dances with your eyes at play and livens the promise of the creme brulee. Your lissom body blithely sweeps past me to gaze wantonly upon the creme brulee. Sweet, soft lips must share with mine the airy texture of my creme brulee. Lips that promise me a lingering kiss more exciting than the taste of creme brulee. Yet I want to hold your body in my arms and share with you a bite of creme brulee. Together we'll penetrate the caramel crust after we've prepared the creme brulee flambé.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's terrific.
That's a good February poem.
That's good.
Yes, it
Yes.
is. Very good.
Okay, we have time to at least get.
We have time for another round, I think.
Okay,
Okay.
wonderful.
Okay.
Jan.
My next one I'm going to read is Longing. I hear the ocean waves beating the shore. With eyes closed, the rhythm continues, like a conch shell held to the ear. The rhythm is in my soul. There is forward progression and the backward withdrawal, a tango in the sand, leaving behind the detritus of the sea, clues to what is past and future. I close my eyes and long for warm sand and sun, long for the ocean and her beauty, long for the dance and the beat of my soul.
Oh, beautiful.
That's nice.
Thank you.
The combination of the two images at the end, the dance and the beat of my soul. It's a wonderful, wonderful line.
Thank you.
Great. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Mary Jane.
Yes, I have one here, and it's called, I wrote this for my car, and it's called For Red. My red 2001 Honda Civic and those foreboding repairs. When you wish upon a car, it makes no difference who you are. Brakes and batteries and tires that strut their stuff. Radiators that sing sultry songs and steam their glory in one hot puff. The pecuniary claim to fund my loss continues to provide a wherewithal to pool my mechanical friend that is as much a senior as I am. So we continue our travels together, sharing the stick shift and clutch, and those happy travel moments with family and friends that we both love so much.
Okay. Valerie, do you have something?
No, I don't have.
You haven't. I'm sure you have something else, Don.
Yes.
Yes. And it's done. Here.
Down here?
This one here.
Oh, okay, here.
You moved your chair.
Moving their chairs.
Okay.
They're all going to detention.
Dang busted, anyway.
Oh, Sydney Lizundia. Her life is such that she's so attentive to her maid at home till she cannot be available on a scheduled basis to join us in this thing tonight. She always sits next to me because now and then she reaches out and touches me when she likes what I'm doing, and I would miss it horribly. But Sydney, I'm going to read, hopefully with the same sort of interest and feeling that you do, and that would be impossible, but I'm going to try what I can do here. May 2018. I have a soft space in my heart for the homeless and the down and out. I see their hunched up shoulders, the shuffling pace, the threadbare clothes, and despair etched on their faces. I do not know what terrors brought them to this state in life, to live in shadows on the fringe, but I cannot stand idly by. I decided to do what I can to show them that I care. I pack lunches for them. I call it my lunch bags with a love project. When I go grocery shopping, I buy more than our family can eat, so I can feed those who truly are in need. I place the food in brown or white paper sacks. Some I decorate and some not. But on each paper sack I write these words: "You are valued. I care." What goodies do I put in these lunch bags? Well, I am mindful that the homeless often have poor teeth or no teeth at all, so I pack soft foods. This week's sandwich is peanut butter. Last week it was ham. In different snack size baggies, I include an apple cut in thin slices, an orange peeled and sectioned, plump cherry tomatoes and chunks of cheese, and trail mix with dried cranberries, almonds, cashews, and tiny chocolate pieces. For dessert, there is a pudding cup or a granola bar. Where do I find the homeless? Look around you. They are everywhere. In shopping mall parking lots, at busy intersections, and on freeway entrances and exits. I drive around to find them. They all have poignant messages on cardboard signs. This week's signs read, quotes, in Iraq War, am a U.S. vet. Kindness helps. God bless, end quotes. Another was, I am homeless and broke. Please help, end quotes. And the next, got robbed. I need food, please. There were funny signs too. One read, am dreaming of a Big Mac. Also, a man with a large grin and a turbaned hat held up a sign that said, I am Tom Cruise. Last week he was in a stocking cap and his sign read, I'm James Bond. But the one that really made me chuckle was this, anything helps, but not Trump. It is interesting to note that I have not encountered anyone speaking Spanish or appearing Latino. Hopefully they have jobs or are looking for work. But in these trying times of border wall talk and deportation fears, possibly they wish to stay off the streets and not risk being confronted, questioned, and snatched. When I passed out the lunch bags, I watched the emotions that crossed the people's faces. There was astonishment, relief, gratitude, and tears of joy. But the greatest response is the one that comes from my own heart. I feel a connection to them. I know that by reaching out, I have touched another human being. And that is what Lunch Bags with Love is all about. God bless.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Sydney, thank you for permission to read this to our viewers.
Wonderful piece.
Do we have time?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Several years ago, I wrote a longer poem I titled Three Noble Pieces. It's about people who, years and years ago, did good things for what we would call civil rights. And they, I don't think, get much recognition. The first one is about Helen Forrest, who was Harry James' singer, and before that she was Artie Shaw's singer, and she was, Shaw was having a battle with Billie Holiday on salary and things like that. So she was going to be his, she was going to be Holiday's substitute when Holiday was pouting or something like that. Well, it turned out that in several instances, club owners wouldn't let Holiday come in the front entrance, and Helen Forrest always made sure that she walked in the front entrance with Holiday, and if they insisted that they go to the back entrance, Forrest went to the back entrance with Holiday, and those kinds of gestures. I can't read this poem because the speaker in the poem is Artie Shaw's sax player, and he uses language that isn't appropriate for television. So,
Okay.
the second one is sort of a strange poem because of the way he was presenting himself when he became much, much older. It's about Roy Acuff, who had an African-American spoons player, and and Acuff wouldn't let the if the hotel manager wouldn't let Bobby Hep, the spoons player, into the room, he wouldn't let the Smoky Mountain Boys into the room either. Can't read that one because it's a. This one is the speaker. The speaker is a guitar player in the Smoky Mountain Boys, and his language isn't appropriate. The final one is the one that most people like better than the other two. It's about Marilyn Monroe and her real good friend Ella Fitzgerald. And the one thing I like about this is that Ella gave me the last line of the poem from a Jet magazine article she wrote about this incident. So here's the section. People die, things die. The Macombo, pride of East Hollywood, was shuttered and then shattered by a wrecker's ball. Monroe and Fitzgerald are no longer with us. As some things beautiful die, some beautiful things are nearly not born. A story. Marilyn demanded that Ella sing at the White Macombo. She'd sit in front of everyone every night. Rescued from smoky jazz joints, Ella said, Marilyn was ahead of her time, but didn't know it. I like that. And I do have a picture of the two of them beside the poem.
It might be appropriate to talk about where we went yesterday afternoon. Valerie, will you talk about that? Holiday, Lady Day at the center stage. There was a play, a musical thing for, what was Lady Day's first name?
Lady Day?
Yeah.
That's Billie Holiday.
Billie Holiday,
Yeah.
yes. So we saw that play, and it was the actress who was playing that role, and a three-piece combo behind for 90 minutes. Just incredibly entertaining. One of the finest performances I've seen in a long time. And this is toward the end of Billie Holiday's years. And she deteriorated during this performance as time went on. And finally, toward the end, she disappeared down the stairs and came back up, and she had forgotten to put her sleeve back down. And there were the tracks where she shot herself up. And if you get a chance to see a thoroughly entertaining, see, these youngsters don't know about Billie Holiday, and you and I do.
Yeah.
Weeping willow tree. I know Billie Holiday.
Yes.
Where was this?
At the Armory, downtown, center stage.
And what's the title of the?
Lady Day.
Lady Day. Yeah.
And really delightful. See, you're telling your age too. You look younger than you really are.
Well, my parents had a whole collection of records from the 30s, 40s, 50s. And when I grew up, we had a turntable. And so, so that's all we would listen to those, like Mr. Sandman. In fact, I know almost all those songs word for word, just because I grew up with them.
You would have been fascinated. I was looking at the people sitting to my left and to my right, and we were in the second or third row, I think. And as she was singing on stage, and I was singing along with her because I knew all the lyrics, all the words. and I was mouthing them even though I wasn't making any noises, and I was checking each side of me to see if they were wondering if I was nuts. I recommend seeing it if you get a chance to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I asked you about it, and I talked about it. So.
It was a wonderful performance, beautiful.
Very,
Her
very
voice
good.
was just silky
Okay.
smooth.
Very good.
Okay. Do we have time for any more poems?
Yes, we have time for any more
Okay,
poems.
okay.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
Yeah.
Good.
I have a little sort of funny, lighter one. It's very short. It's called Evicted.
Oh.
The leaves on the tree flutter in the wind. They laugh at me. Why are you still here? They ask. You must not have received the memo. You have been evicted. The corporation owns you. The corporation owns the nation. You have no say. Goodbye.
Oh,
I thought I was
That's
political.
that one's short, sweet, yeah.
Do you have something else?
I do, yes. This poem I wrote based on a piece that I was trying to learn how to play on the piano by Antonio Vivaldi. And it's called Stagione di Primavera, the season of spring, inspired by Antonio Vivaldi. A new season awakens from the renewing hibernation of winter. The internal blooms await the refreshing rains that quench the thirst of the buds, bringing them to vivacity. The air, now fresh with the fragrance of life-giving moisture, brings forth a sudden burst of color. A gust of a breeze scatters blossoms that bring a bravo flying on the wings of the birds, singing a song for all to hear. Here is the joy of spring. Spread it to all.
Very nice.
Thanks.
I like it. Do you have something else?
I've got one more from Sydney. And it's in this one here. Because I love her work so much.
Mhm.
Insomnia. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I remember seeing that.
Should I do Insomnia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Oh, all right. There we go.
Insomnia. Insomnia crept under the covers with me in bed last night at midnight. It likes to keep me awake at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and so on. It is an unyielding gleeful foe. It interferes with plans, robs me of energy, and messes with my mind. How do you combat this evil demon? I have already counted 2 million sheep from the green hills of New Zealand to the mountains of the Spanish Pyrenees. I can count backwards from 113 languages. I have done scissor kicks, jumping jacks, and marched resolutely up and down stairs. I have meditated with Buddha, chanted with the monks, and practiced deep breathing exercises with our long-gone cat. I've listened to the soothing melodies of Brahms, sought wisdom from the twinkling stars, and composed poetry before dawn. I have even offered bribery, my prized teddy bear, my sleeping husband. Insomnia just giggled at that. Apparently I have no defense about this sorcerer. None, I say. Can you help me? Will you help me? Please help me. Sydney. She wrote this on March 7, 2018. So I've had permission to read a second one of yours. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
If we have time, I have this. This is a part of a longer poem I wrote as a tribute to Saint Cecilia.
You can do up to 5 minutes with it if you will.
What?
You can do up to 5 minutes or so with
No,
it.
this won't. This is just a section. I'm not going to read the whole Saint Cecilia poem. Okay. This is a section about folk music, and it's titled Kubla's Country Canto. And the reason the speaker in the poem is called Kubla is that the poem has several references to Coleridge's poem, Kubla Khan. Okay, so Kubla's Country Canto. In hard scrabble hills, music fills the air and echoes in the skies of Tennessee. In the ancient hills and everywhere, the spirit lives in sunny spots of greenery. Poverty infects this lovely landscape and limits opportunities to be free. Sad young folk try a desperate escape in Oxycontin trips on Kubla's sunless sea. On a market porch, a mountain girl I saw. She was a comely Appalachian maid, and plink-plunk rural music raw on her crimson dulcimer she played. I beg your pardon. On her crimson dulcimer she prayed. She sang a bright blue mountain lay that sounded like an old church hymn. He who doesn't know that prayer is play hasn't seen an angel dance for him.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Fine.
I want to explain how I got the prayer play thing into the poem.
We've got a couple of 3 minutes for you.
I was lying in bed on a Sunday morning with my laptop trying to write some lines, write some poems, and I read. So I had to take a break, so I went to the New York Times, and there's a wonderful occasional writer with the Times, T.E. Kuhlman. She teaches anthropology at Stanford, but she made the comment that she was writing a story about speaking in tongues in the Pentecostal churches, and she said that when those people speak in tongues, they see prayer as play. I have to use that line.
Oh, very good.
So we have a couple of minutes more. So it's time for any kind of comment that any one of us wants to make right now regarding what happened here this evening, or anything else to do with poetry or to do with Louis. So let's occupy our time and use Louis.
Okay, well, first of all, we should say that we have an interesting group of people that meets the fourth Saturday every month at the Cedar Mill Library just off Cornell Road in the Cedar Mill section of Washington County near Beaverton. We meet at 10:30 until 12, and we enjoy each other's company, enjoy each other's poems, and we'd like to see as many people as possible to come in. at 10:30 and bring a poem.
And I would like to add to that, being the newest victim to the group, it was the first time I've ever sort of shared my poetry publicly, and I was a little nervous, and you guys were great. It's very friendly, and they're a great group, and I've just enjoyed being part of it. So don't be hesitant if you have any fear or worry. It's very engaging and friendly and fun, and you'll get to see some of Don's signs.
Do you have a closing comment?
I have been going to the poetry group for a few years now, and it's wonderful to have been a part of sharing our creativity with each other. And it's really been a lot of fun. And Louis has been a wonderful facilitator.
Yes,
I have to
yes,
tell you,
yes.
he's been great. So we're voting for you, Louis.
Okay.
Yep.
And my co-host here, let's have you say a word or two about anything.
Thank you for having me, and I've enjoyed your poetry. It's very powerful, and so I think that I'll get back to it myself. It's
We're
very,
gonna
very
check up on you.
inspiring.
I was going to say,
Okay.
come visit our group.
Yeah.
I should.
Yeah, come and visit us. It's nice having you here.
Yes, I will.
So it looks like it's about time for us to say goodnight, and I need to remember you about KFC. Not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. To you too, and you too, especially you, and you too, and you too, and you too, and you too in the control room. You always yell at me if I don't say
Yeah, we'll
goodbye.
vote for you. Yeah.
See you next time. Good night.